Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I hope you're doing fine. And I'm happy to announce that I'm doing fine too. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. And I would like to welcome each and every one of you to another episode of TJ's Topics. That's right. And I tell you what, it is certainly a pleasure to be with all of you on today. I consider it a joy, an honor, and a privilege to be able to come into your presence on any given occasion. And not only would I like to welcome you to TJ's Topics, but I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome you to the month of February. Here we are now, getting ready to kick off a brand new month and Black History Month. That's right. Yep, this is the shortest month of the year, and it's the month that they set aside where we can kind of have a little acknowledgement, us colored folk. So that's what we're going to deal with throughout this month, for the next 4 weeks. And the subject that I have today is one of vital importance. Church is the only place where Black people have authority. That is the subject for today. Church is the only place where Black people have authority. Now, I figured this would be appropriate for the start of Black History Month, given that the Black church, which has been pretty instrumental throughout the years in the Black community, it's had its issues, of course, we know that. But the thing I'm talking about today is how we as so-called African Americans, we tend to have the ability to exercise our authority in the church, but we can't necessarily exercise that same level of authority outside the church. For instance, you take the pastor and the associate ministers, the deacons, the secretary, and Sunday school teachers, the superintendent of the Sunday school department, and all other capacities wherein people serve in the church. They can usurp their authority in and around that facility. But most of the time, Black people don't have authority anywhere else, like on the job and out here in these public places. No, we usually don't have that type of authority anywhere else. So therefore, church is the place where we can feel like we're somebody. We don't always, well, I won't say all of us, but a lot of us as Black people don't necessarily feel as if we matter when we go into other places, because they tend to look down on us, or they watch us very closely to make sure we're not up to something, like we're going to steal, or they think we're going to come in and shoplift or rob or something like that. We don't have authority in those places, the various stores and stuff, unless we happen to have a certain position like a supervisor, or, manager or something like that, which can be rare at times. But you know what? Now, now in the church, especially in the Black church, people get beside themselves when they have these positions and they have authority. But now, what about in the secular arena? On the job, whatever job that you hold. Usually there's going to be somebody of another ethnicity that oversees that black supervisor. Yeah, they may have a little manager position or whatever. Like, for example, in a fast food restaurant, like Burger King or Wendy's or Taco Bell, McDonald's or whatever. Yeah, they may have they may be a manager in there, and they might make 2 3 cents more than the regular employees. But I'm willing to bet that above that manager, there's going to be another manager, and they may not be the same ethnicity as that immediate supervisor. So, and we see this play out all the time in various businesses and companies and stuff like that. So, because we don't have the authority, we don't really own much in our communities. Most cities you go to, black people don't own businesses. I know here in West Memphis, we really don't have very many black owned businesses. I mean, there may be there are a few, but there are not that many. Most of the businesses around here are owned and operated by Caucasians. And they're the ones who mainly oversee everything in the business era, in the business world. All the banks are owned by white folks. And the biggest what works in these banks are white people. They don't have too many of us in there. And they don't hire us in there to work too often. They're definitely not going to put us in charge because they feel like if any money comes up missing or something else goes down, who's going to be the first one they blame? The Negro. The Negro is going to be the one that takes the blame and will be the first one who is sent out the door. But not so in the church, because in the church, we can prance around, we can strut our stuff. We're footloose and fancy free, and we can do whatever we want to in the house of the Lord, so to speak. To a certain extent, that is, because even in church, I mean, there's this system of hierarchy, and so even in there, we can't get away with too much, because they want to make sure that we're in compliance with the rules and regulations and always remain in a state of obedience, because as they always quote in that scripture, obedience is better than sacrifice. So this concludes this discussion today on church being the only place where black people have authority. And in most cities it is, in most communities, that is the case. Black people don't run anything else. They don't run the fire departments or the police departments or anything like that. They may work there, have black cops and maybe 1 or 2 black firefighters or whatever. But other than that, no, they don't run too much in most cities. A few, yes, but not most. All black folks mostly run in most cities is their mouth, but nothing else. So I just want to take this time right now to thank you again for tuning in today to this episode of TJ's Topics. I really enjoyed having you, and I look forward to seeing you again next time when we will talk about something else that could very well be pertaining to Black history or something of interest. So I look forward to seeing you then. Until then, this is Taryn Jerome Harris, reminding you that every round goes higher and higher. Look forward to seeing you again soon. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.